In the previous section, we have seen how components make up the building blocks of React application. We write components, then compose them inside one another and continue this process till the application completes. Let's take a look at our finished application once. We can see our cat and dog components have a player heading, image and like and dislike buttons. Let's replicate the same in our application also. So in this section, we are going to extend our cat and dog components to make it display some static image and show like and dislike buttons along with some CSS styling. Let's start with cat component first. Okay. I'm going to head over to my browser to find some cute cat image links. And I'm going to open a new tab, and in the new tab, I'm going to search for cute cat images. And let's pick one among the displayed results. It looks better. So I'm going to right click on it and select copy image address. Okay. And to display the image over the UI, I'm going to create an image React element inside my cat component. And as it's src prop, I'm going to paste whatever I copied, the image address. Okay. And provide here another alt prop to show up some text, which I'm going to give it as cute cat, in case if the image is not loaded. Okay. And now when our component gets rendered, React will create an actual DOM image node on the UI corresponding to this image element and its properties. Okay. And since we are returning multiple React elements, let's wrap them inside a div element. So I'm going to cut this chunk of code and create a div element and paste it inside it. Fine. Let's save it and check our output on the browser. And there we go. We have successfully rendered our cat image. Simple, right? But the image looks a bit large. Let's constrain its dimensions to something better. I think 400 by 400 should serve our purpose. Okay, let's head back to the editor. And can you guess how we can resize our image dimensions? Yeah, and as you thought, we can use style attribute available on every primitive element, like this. So I'm going to define my style object. Again, I can create a separate style object and assign it to style prop over here in image element. But since I'm going to keep only a couple of fields inside it, let's do it in place. So I would do another curly brace to recognize it as a JavaScript object, and inside it I'm going to define the field height to be 400 and width to be 400. If the property value is a number, then I don't need to put it in quotes. Okay, let's save it now and check our output on the browser. Looks a little better, right? Okay. Now let's do the same stuff for our dog component also. I'm going to flip over to my browser, and on a new tab, I'm going to search for cute dog images this time inside Google. And let's pick one among the displayed images. This one looks better. Right click on it and select copy image address. Let's head back to our editor again. And this time inside dog components render method, let's create an image element. And as previous, assign our copied link to src attribute of it. And also provide alt prop to be cute dog, in case if image is not loaded. And let's also constrain its dimensions to be 400 by 400 by creating a separate style prop inline and defining the fields height and width inside it. So I'm going to define my style prop here and defining the fields height to be 400 and width to be 400. Finally, wrap these React elements inside a div so that only a single React element gets returned from my render method. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to create a div React element and I'm going to paste my code inside it. Okay. Let's save it now and flip over to the browser to see the output this time. Alright, we got both cat and dog images rendered with same dimensions on the web page. But right now, UI looks a little bit ugly. If you look at our finished application, then we have got cat and dog components aligned at the center, side by side, so that we can have a good look at both of them at the same time. Okay, let's head back to our editor. Okay, we need to do a bit of styling here, so bear with me. Styling has nothing to do with React concepts. It's just plain CSS styling to stack the images horizontally and center them. Firstly, I'll stack them horizontally by creating a style object here in both the components. Let's start with our cat component first. So I'm going to define an object here inside CAD component by name comp style. It's going to contain the fields display with its value set to inline block so that our cat and dog components come side by side. And let's also define the field margin left to be auto, and one more margin right also set to auto. This will set a default margin on left and right. Okay, do note here the property values are not camel cased. Only keys or property names are camel cased. Property values should be defined as it is, like how we define them in CSS files. Then apply the style object we have created, which is comp style, to our div tag over here, which is a top level element getting returned from the render method. Why only div tag? Because it's grouping the elements and we want the total chunk to be displayed in a block. So I'm going to set my style property here to comp style. Okay, let's save it now, and let's do the same for our dog component also. I'm going to copy this portion of code and I'm going to paste it inside my dog component over here. And let's set the div elements style property to be comp style. So over here I'm going to set my style property inside the div element to be comp style, just like how I have done for CAD component. Okay, let's save it and navigate to our browser again to check whether styling works as expected. And sure enough, now our cat and dog components are aligned side by side. Okay. Let's remove this extra line over here and save it. Fine. Our next step is to move the complete block to center. Complete block, I mean both cat and dog components combined. So let's go to our homepage component, and we can wrap our cat and dog components here with a div tag and apply style to that div tag. Let's do it. I'm going to cut this code. I'm going to create a new div React element and I'm going to paste my code inside it. In this way, both my cat and dog components combinedly gets the same style if I apply some style property over to my div tag over here. And let's put some margin from the top header. So I'm going to write it as margin top and set it to some 60 pixels. And along with defining other field, text align to be center, to center content inside cat and dog components. Alright, let's save it now and check it on the browser. Fine, they are centered now. Our UI is looking a bit nice now, right? Okay, we are done with the image and styling as of now. Now let's do the next goal of putting like-dislike buttons below the images. To create a button on the UI, we need to create a React element button, which will display an actual button element when it gets rendered. So let's start doing it inside our CAD component first. I'm going to write it in JSX like this. I'm going to create a button element, and inside it I'm going to keep the content as like. Let's also create our dislike button. I'm going to duplicate this line and change its content to dislike. Alright, let's save it now and let's do the same for our dog component as well. So I'm going to copy this chunk of code and I'm going to paste it inside my dog components render method below the image tag like this. Alright, let's save it and head over to the browser to check the output. Okay, the buttons are aligned right beside the image. Let's move them down now. I'm going to add a BR tag after our image like this inside both the components. Let's do the same for our CAD component as well. Alright, let's save it and let's check the output on the browser now. Okay, it looks good. But the buttons look uneven and they are clubbed with each other. Let's separate them out and adjust their sizes. Again, I'm going to create a button style object which is going to hold CSS properties and values to style the button element. Okay, I'm going to define it over here like this. Button style, which is an object containing the fields. Let's set some height and width of buttons. So I'm going to set my height of button to be let's set some 25 pixels. And let's set its width to be some 70 pixels. Okay, now let's add some margin on top, left and right for the buttons. So I'm going to define the field margin top and let's give some 10 pixels to it. And I'm going to define the field margin left and let's set 5 pixels as a left margin. And let's also define margin right with its value set to 5 pixels. Alright. Now let's apply button style to both the buttons in our CAD component. So I'm going to define a style prop for my button element and I'm going to set its value to button style, what I have just created. And let's do the same for our next button element also. Style equal to button style. Alright, let's save it. Let's copy the same style and paste it inside our dog component as well. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it inside my dog component over here. And let's also apply the button style to our button elements over here inside dog component. So I'm going to set style to button style. Okay, let's do it for this button also. Style equal to button style. Alright, let's save it now and look the result. Cool. It's beautiful, right? Okay, but when you click on the like dislike buttons, nothing happens on screen. This is expected because we didn't tell buttons what to do when the button is clicked. So we need to first subscribe for our button clicks using onClick event available on it, and listen for button click event by passing a callback function to onClick event. Every time we click on the button, a click event is generated that has to be consumed by some listener. But since there is no listener or event handler listening on for our button's click event, the event will be simply ignored. Also, you might have noticed we are copying and pasting styles from one component to another, which resulted in a lot of code duplication. This might have been really frustrating, but I'm only doing this to show you the importance of reusable components and props. And we'll see how we can fix this problem using props and reusable components in the coming sections. Alright, let's fix this button callback issue in the next section.